Hey everybody, I'm Rich from the Castles, Capes, and Clones podcast, and you are listening and or watching the Castles, Capes, and Clones Mandalorian recap after show thing. I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah.
Where we talk about the Mandalorian. Normally, my co-host Lauren is with us, but he's indisposed right now. But we have Tom with us, who
Greetings.
was on the last season.
The last one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but we've actually recorded this podcast another time before. We had technical difficulties, and then the previous weeks before that, Lauren, if you follow us on anything else, he was in the hospital with COVID. So it's just been a lot of we had a lot of issues.
A lot.
So yeah. So how you doing?
I'm good. It feels like it's been forever. I was gonna record with you guys with the first episode of this, but I had technical difficulties. So I couldn't join. But we recorded the previous episode, and we also kind of did like a recap of the previous ones we couldn't record because Lauren was in the hospital.
Right.
But no, I feel I feel a little like compared to like your background, like mine. Like I see all your cool Star Wars stuff, and I am proud of this. I just have my Star Speeder 3000 right here,
right,
from the original Star Tours. I mean, I have the other one. I have both of them, but I always prefer this one,
the original.
Yeah.
I'm now kind of regretting not getting the 3 3/4 inch scale Star Speeder that they sold at the parks.
I remember those. Yeah,
because now I don't know if they will ever sell it again. So now I'm like, I should have got it.
So every once in a while, like maybe like once every month or two, I'll just go on eBay and just look at old merch from my favorite rides.
Yeah.
Like I'll just look at Star Tours merch. It's always Star Tours. Why am I saying it like that? Star Tours, Indiana Jones, and Haunted Mansion and Pirates. Those are like the four I just see what people are selling. Oh, and Tower of Terror too, of course.
Right.
But that's it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I have another podcast, so I tried to get this.
Yeah.
And plus, like, for work, I actually do a video every month-ish where I just tell them weird stories from my old job.
Oh, really?
Well, because I work with a whole bunch of people that work internationally. Everyone I know all of my employees are work from home, but they're global. So
yeah.
And I went from a team of like 14 people to all of a sudden 90 something. So there's people who I am their manager, but they've never talked to me.
Yeah.
So I said the best way to convey that I'm not some like suit with a like overlord kind of like shadow figure that kind of has like I'm looming over everything is to make stupid videos of me telling stories from my days of Blizzard. And so they get to know that I'm a nerd because my background, right? I made sure that that's very clear that I'm one of them. And then my stories are like really dumb. So I'm like, there you go. So they can feel comfortable talking to me if they never need me for anything. They won't feel like I'm too serious or whatever.
Yeah, that you're serious boss guy who they need to act.
I am far from a serious boss guy.
Yeah.
So, I think I know the last time we recorded this, we went through the other episodes that we missed, but I don't think it'll take even longer if we did that. But I think we can do a quick.
Yeah, we could do like a really quick version of it.
Yeah. So going back to the passenger where we meet the frog lady, what was your take from that episode that you can remember?
Well, I have a fear of spiders. So I mean,
do I.
Yeah, because I actually watched that episode. Every episode I watched twice, with the exception of this latest one that came out, today.
Because it just came out, yeah.
Because it just came out. I rewatched those other ones twice because I watched them, and then my girlfriend and I watched them because she's catching up on the Mandalorian. But each time, I put my feet up. So
You hear the little.
yeah,
I hate that sound.
yeah, no, I wasn't a fan. Like the big one didn't scare me. It was all the little and medium ones that scared me.
Right.
But no, it was cool to see Filoni reprise his role as one of the New Republic X-wing pilots. I remember you mentioned at some point that he doesn't like doing that. he doesn't like being on camera.
What's it called? Oh, the making of the series that they did over the summer, or the making of the Mandalorian. He said he doesn't like doing that kind of stuff. So Favreau, of course, made him do it.
Makes him do it.
So I suspect that he made him do it again, and that's going to be like his thing. It's like, I'm going to make you dress up as a, which is funny because I would absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, put me up there, blow me up. I don't care. Like,
please
have me be the guy cleaning up the Death Star trash compactor after. Whatever. Like, I don't care.
Even like, just like finding, like during the Force Awakens, like around that time, finding out that the stormtrooper that was in there with Rey when she was strapped in was Daniel Craig. We had no idea he's not credited. If it's something like that, I think I could have the actor wrong. I think it was it John Krasinski was one of the two scout troopers at the end of the first season?
No, it was
who was
Jason Sudeikis.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I remember like he was I think he was the one that punched.
He's the one who punched Baby Yoda.
Yeah, and someone, I think someone was like, I'll never forgive him for doing that. Like, but no, I would. That'd be great, even if it was something like that. Even if I was just a stormtrooper in the background. I'd totally take that up. But no, that episode was great. It was scary. I like that. I'm gonna get flack for this, but to be fair, the Mandalorian says his name wrong too, so I feel like that's okay. I keep confusing it between Grogu and Grogu for some reason. I don't know why.
Grogu.
That's what I thought. But no, I love that we get like new. It's like he's learning to talk, kind of like that one, like in that episode where he's trying to get the Mando's attention, like he's like making those noises, is one of the cutest things in the entire world. Like it's up there with like a cute dog or kitty sound.
We finally see him kind of try to communicate with Din Djarin. It's worth to note that was directed by Peyton Reed, who is the director of the Ant-Man movies for Marvel. And I think the best part of that was that he had a giant ant.
A little nod.
I mean, like funny because like Ant-Man's small and whatever, but he had a giant ant talking to Amy Sedaris' character. Named Dr. Mandibles. So I'm like, perfect. But and then like the spiders were directly taken from a Ralph McQuarrie concept art for Dagobah, actually. So I guess there was supposed to be a sequence of spiders in Dagobah, which
that they couldn't do for obvious reasons.
Which I'm kind of glad, because that would have then scared me, because then I've been like, I think I wanted to go to Dagobah and be like, I want to meet Yoda. And then if there's a spider like that, I'd be like, oh, maybe not.
I like that they're going back to they've been going back to the original concept art. Like they did the same thing for Lando's version of the Falcon. Like that, his original drawings for the Millennium Falcon had the satellite dish like attached to the actual Falcon itself. It was like a little nod to that.
And there's a lot of it in the sequel trilogy as well. I think JJ went back to a lot of it. Definitely like some of the Jakku stuff was taken from his original artwork. So It's cool. Um, the one after that was the Heiress, which was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
A big episode because obviously it was the introduction of the rumored appearance of Bo-Katan Kryze from the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. As someone who has not finished Clone Wars and not seen Rebels,
Yes.
what was your impression on that character?
I thought she was great. I mean, even though, let's see, I'm as far as Clone Wars, I'm
Right.
wrapping up season 3 slowly.
Right.
But like I know about the character for the most part. Because I'm at the point where I already,
So you first met her.
Yeah, I first met her. So
Okay. So you see
when she
have
showed up, I was like,
okay.
oh, that's cool. But yeah, I didn't know she was gonna show up. But once I saw their armor, I was like, oh, it's cool. It was just great seeing,
Yeah.
live action versions of it. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the same thing can be said for a couple episodes later about a bigger character.
Right.
No, I like how she and the other ones are like, oh, he's one of them. Like they're like, okay, well, he's a
Yeah,
Mandalorian, but he's
that
kind of a
was the big I don't say the big, but like it was one
yeah,
of the things that it answered a lot of questions, right?
yeah,
Because for those of us that watched Clone Wars and Rebels, we've met Mandalorians already, and they are definitely not um, shy about taking off their helmets at
yeah. They
all.
just
Like
walk around. Yeah,
they take them off all the time. So it's like
yeah,
it was a questions like, I remember in the beginning of the first season when there's like a don't take off my helmet for anybody. Everyone was like, "Is that a new thing? What's that?
yeah,
Do they not know their own story and lore? Like they do it all the time. What the?"
yeah.
And so it answered that question. I think there's another like faction or whatever of what seems to be more. I don't know if fanatical is the word, but at least more ingrained in the old ways. Um, so that's probably what that is. It's just interesting that it's called Children of the Watch, where
Yeah.
Bo-Katan, when we first meet her, she's part of Death Watch, which was this militant group on Mandalore.
Hmm.
So I wonder if they're related or if it's just another one of those things where they just like the term watch.
Yeah, yeah. Because it does
But
sound cool.
but I have a feeling it's got to be. But yeah, like for me, like I know where the character goes. I know what happens. I know what happens to her in Rebels. So I know kind of where we left off with her.
Mhm.
And it was, again, like every single time she's on that show, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is awesome. I wish that every time I saw her animated, I'm like, man, it'd be awesome if Katie Sackhoff would actually play her for real. Like, right, like do it now because she's at the right age and whatever, and she can totally do it
Yeah,
wherever. Like I want her to show up in the Kenobi series because they do
yeah,
have a connection, right? Because
yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi had a very close relationship with Bo-Katan's sister,
Hmm.
Satine Kryze, who was the um, Duchess of
Yeah,
Mandalore. So essentially, she was the leader of Mandalore. So,
yeah.
and they did have a thing. Like what I like about Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka is that all three of them kind of represent uh, the Jedi. Like Obi-Wan was like the devout Jedi, like
Hmm.
the quote unquote perfect Jedi. Anakin questioned everything, and we know what happens to Anakin. And Ahsoka kind of fell in between. Like yes, she was Anakin's Padawan, but I feel like she learned a lot also from Obi-Wan. So she kind of ran the middle ground
Yeah.
between the Jedi and or between like being like totally like um
A little
ingrained
bit. Yeah,
of
yeah,
in the Jedi and like totally like loyal and like believes in it fully, where Anakin questioned everything.
yeah. A little
So
bit more on the reckless side.
yeah, and one of Anakin's downfalls was his attachment to Padme, obviously. Like in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan, and like that's why I say the Clone Wars kind of really um enhances the prequels,
Yeah.
right? Because when Obi-Wan and Anakin are on the carrier and they're chasing after Dooku,
Mhm.
and Padme falls out, and Anakin's like, "Stop the ship," blah 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 blah, and then Obi-Wan's like, "We have to catch Dooku. You'll be kicked out of the Jedi Order. What do you think Padme would do?" And like, knowing what happens to him with his relationship with Satine, like he chose the Jedi Order over finding a relationship with somebody, whereas Anakin tried to have both, be a Jedi and have a relationship and attachments. And we do see the same kind of temptation with Ahsoka at some point. So it's just interesting the way all three of those characters kind of approached everything differently and how they all turned out. So, finally seeing her in that show, in the show, was amazeballs.
Yeah.
So, I loved it, and then of course, she got to name drop Ahsoka, which I kind of wish they didn't, but it was such a big thing that Ahsoka, just hearing someone say Ahsoka Tano in a live action Star Wars thing was amazing. So
yeah, I don't want to call it a complaint because that's too that's too extreme, but it's like a nitpick. And I know we've talked about this before, but my only like nitpicks, and there's only like two of them when it comes to this season. Earlier this year when they announced, Rosario Dawson was cast as Ahsoka, I'm like, that feel like that would have been a cool secret to keep.
Yeah.
The same thing goes for the I can't recall his name, but the actor that played, Jango Fett, essentially returning as Boba Fett. And I'm like, oh, that also would have been great if that would have been a secret, because we've been wondering for since 1983 if officially anyway, did Boba Fett survive the pit of Sarlacc?
Yeah.
But when we recorded the last episode of this, but we had the technical issues, you mentioned you felt like they told us those reveals for a reason, is because those aren't the real reveals that they're saving for this season.
Yeah, because like season 1, Baby Yoda was like the biggest secret. Like they kept that so much that they didn't tell any of the toy companies merchandising that's happening. And look at little Grogu now. He's like everywhere. I'm pretty sure he's a gummy somewhere. I'm pretty sure he's on like underwear. Like he's everywhere.
Yeah.
And that would have been such a, especially when it came out right before the holidays, like it would have been like the number one seller back then. So they kept it a secret for story's sake.
Yeah.
And I feel like they could have done it also with Ahsoka, with Bo-Katan, and then we saw Boba Fett, Tamara Morrison at the end of the first episode this season. So like even then it would have been like amazing if we didn't know all three of them were involved. And then after the first episode of season 1, we had Baby Yoda. Everyone went crazy about it. Right?
Everyone went nuts.
At the end of episode 1, like just first of all, seeing Cobb Vanth for us who follow the books would have been amazing, and not knowing that happened. And then at the end, like that guy turning around and it's Boba Fett, and or like we would have not known exactly. Actually, we would have been like, is that a clone? Is that Boba Fett? What's going on? What is this?
Yeah.
Right.
I still had a big reaction when he showed up at the very end, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, what's gonna happen? But because I remember last season, during when they were on Tatooine the first time, how that figure walks up to and I remember hearing those familiar sounds that Boba Fett makes, and I was like, I think it's Boba Fett. So but seeing him was great, and he just looked really angry. I'm like, Tatooine has not been nice to him in these past 5 years.
But that reveal, I'm like, that's why I think with Ahsoka also, like that would have been like a major, like, because then Ahsoka's like probably the number one non-movie character in Star Wars.
Like
she's had fans for like over a decade,
A long
right?
time,
A
yeah.
lot of people grew up with Ahsoka as one of their main Jedi heroes.
Hmm.
So to see her and have that reveal would have been amazing. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
there's got to be something
They're
else.
saving something. I mean, I have a theory
Like
that we've talked about in
and
private.
we'll talk
Yeah,
about
we
it at
could
the
talk
end
about
of
that.
when we
Yeah.
talk about the latest episode.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the next episode after that was The Siege, which was directed by Carl Weathers.
Mhm.
I feel like that was the fun episode of this
Yeah.
season.
As far as like especially action, it was probably one of the strongest, at least so far.
Yeah.
It's when it comes to like there's still a shot in particular that I still think about, and that was when the chase at the end where they have the TIE
Yeah.
fighters chasing him, and we get those really beautiful POV shots from inside the TIE fighter looking down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'll just watch an hour of that.
Yeah.
So
Like that literally made me want to go buy Star Wars Squadrons.
yeah.
Because it's a first person space battle. Like you can sit in a TIE fighter the way that kind of
Yeah.
looked. So
Yeah, that game makes me wish I had the money to get like an Oculus, just because I know people who play that a lot. They have like their own setup, or because with Oculus
yeah,
you could like actually look
the
around. You seem
ground.
like you
Yeah,
could.
that whole game is supposedly in VR. Can be played in
Yeah,
VR. So
yeah,
I bought it. I mean, I was gonna buy it at some point, but I was waiting for PlayStation's next version of their VR system so I can
yeah.
play it on my PS5 with the new version of the VR.
Hmm.
I would by that time hopefully buy a flight stick,
Yeah.
get the whole setup to play it. But
I do feel like your your PC setup could totally handle it, no problem though.
yeah,
Pretty sure. Just as a PC gaming advocate.
right. But
Uh,
I'm like I said again, I want the next generation of VR before
yeah,
anything happens. So
yeah,
because I'm gonna if I
absolutely.
want to play, I want to play it at its best.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Right.
But
So
I'd like to get it at some point. It looks cool.
yeah,
People are saying it's
I
great.
mean it was cheap during Black Friday, so I bought
Yeah.
it. It was like $25. So I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
all
it.
right.
I missed that. But there'll be another chance.
I
But
mean,
no,
like
yeah.
like next year it'll be like $19. So
Yeah, it'll
it's
be way
fine.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
But yeah, it's just a fun episode. But at the same time, it drove the plot forward. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't just like a lot of people want to say filler episodes. Like I don't think like since Clone Wars there haven't been filler episodes. Like Rebels, when you watch Rebels, there are some episodes you're like this feels disconnected, but it's not. Like everything was thought out.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. So I don't believe in filler episodes. I think there's episodes that are less concerned about plot, but I think everything still fits in the grand scheme of things. And this is one of them where you think, okay, is this hey Mando, I need your help. You need my help. I need your help. We'll exchange whatever, right?
Which makes sense.
Yeah, but we learn. I mean, we see Giancarlo Esposito, not in hologram form this time. So
yeah,
it what's it called? What am I trying to say here? And the fact that he's got something like there's reveal of like there's some kind of nefarious plot involving what they're doing with Baby Yoda, which is using his blood for weird looking Snoke experiments. Like who knows what it is.
Yeah, it got dark during that scene. Like there was some twisted experiments going on in there, and it made me think about I mean, so far the ones I've played, my favorite Star Wars game that is Legends now, it's not lore anymore, which is Jedi Outcast.
Yeah.
Where they do that, where it's essentially an experiment with the Force to create these twisted, quick, dark side users, like Sith, essentially. And it kind of reminded me of that again. And they've been doing that lately, like kind of taking things here and there from Legends and bringing it into canon now, which I think is great.
Yeah, like when Lucasfilm was bought by Disney, and they said everything besides the movies is now considered legends, and everyone went up in arms because
Yeah.
how dare you get rid of my stories? I'm like, you still have the book, right?
Yeah,
Read
the
it.
book's
It
not
doesn't
going
mean
anywhere.
anything, right?
It doesn't mean I'm not going to play Jedi Outcast anymore.
Yeah. I like it the way they kind of put it. It's like those stories exist. We're not saying it doesn't. We're just calling them legends. Kind of like if you read a story about Robin Hood, did that happen exactly the way that was, or is it kind of based on events of some kind?
It's just a different version of it's just different stories from
but they've always said we can take parts of it. And the thing is, like, everyone forgets that George Lucas, everyone's like, but George Lucas approved them all. Like, he didn't really approve any of it.
It was more just like a general
just kind of went like, yeah, you can do it. That's cool.
Sure, why not?
But I have power to be like, no. Mm-hmm. If I want to make a movie again, I don't have to take any of that into account whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's more like, and I've said it to someone this week, like he's more like he tolerated them more than accepted them. He accepted them in the fact that they made money and whatever, but people told stories, but that was never going to be official canon ever.
Yeah.
So I was not broken up that some things did not happen. I'm not broken up too much that Mara Jade does not exist yet in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because they can always bring that back if they.
And they said like you can take tease, and then the biggest thing they took so far, like, I mean, one, George took Coruscant. That was not a George Lucas creation. That was from the EU.
Yeah.
And he's like, that sounds cool. And then boom,
I'll use that.
Coruscant.
Yeah.
Right. Thrawn being in Rebels was a big thing because we thought we would never have that story because, his story took place like 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and kind of like the sequels kind of erased that history. Right. So having him show up in Rebels was amazing. And Favreau has said he's taking from everything, and he literally is taking from everything, not just like the books, but he's taking it from video games.
The
he's
holiday
taking it from
special.
the holiday special and the toys.
Yeah.
Like he's taking from the toys.
Yeah.
And in this episode, the troop transport was a toy.
Yeah.
It wasn't ever in a movie or anything. I mean, like, sure, it popped up in Rebels.
Yeah.
Once you get to it, you'll see it. But I mean, we never had a live action version of that thing, and now it's been in 2 episodes of the Mandalorian. Right? It popped up season 1. I was like, oh my god, it's a toy.
Yeah.
And then it played a big part in this one. So
yeah, it was a huge part. That and I remember the first episode when Life Day was mentioned. I was like, is that is it's the holiday special is canon now, which I think is great.
Yeah. Which was said by the Mithril, who again pops up in this episode. And I think Horatio Sands it's a reoccurring character that I don't mind. Like, I know he's more comic relief.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the same way that Amy Sedaris is kind of comic relief, but also like a reoccurring character. Right?
Yeah, I was worried at first last season, like both of those characters, I was like, are they going to be annoying? But I know some people find them annoying, but I don't, especially her character. I'm like, well, think about where she works. It makes perfect sense. She would be short with everyone.
Right.
And Horatio's character, again, like knowing that he was showing up in this season, I was a little worried. I was like, well, he's going to be annoying. But then during that episode, I love the one line when he's made to go on that platform. He's like, "There's no guardrail on this thing." There's no guardrail. I was like, "Yeah, just like."
That is literally almost one of the best lines in that episode.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I thought it was great.
I hope he improvised that, because that'd been amazing.
It seems like
there's no guardrail.
Yeah, like why you think there would be, but
yeah. But
I love that it's mentioned that the Empire, like, oh, just a cheap Empire piece of junk. Like, that makes sense that the Empire wouldn't care about little things like that. They're like, like, no, all the money is going to go into these other things. We don't really care about everything else. So it just these little nods and attentions to detail, again, I feel expands the universe by little bits at a time.
Yeah. And then we come up to what I thought was be the biggest episode of this season, The Jedi, which was directed by Dave Filoni. again, I feel like the impact of this would have been super awesome if we have no idea that
Yeah.
Ahsoka was showing up. Because we all kind of, because we knew the director beforehand who was directing this episode, or we knew which director was directing which episode. And so
Yeah.
knowing that Dave Filoni was directing this episode after Ahsoka Tano's name was mentioned, everyone assumed Ahsoka, this would be the Ahsoka
Yeah.
episode. And of course, the title came up. It's just the Jedi, so they weren't even
Yeah, he
daring to lead on
wasn't
that. So it was,
they weren't shy about it at all. Like, this is it. This is the episode.
yeah. And then literally opens up with Ahsoka. So it's
Yeah,
like
a lot of people thought that it was going to be like, we'll go the whole episode. She might be mentioned and she'll show up at the very end. But no,
yeah.
they're like, no, we're starting
Yeah,
off with
it was
her.
going to be. Everyone kind of thought it was going to be like The Force Awakens, like
Yeah.
the whole movie's about finding Luke, or
And
it's
then
going to be the
and then
whole
he's
about
in it.
finding,
He's
and
in
then
it
he's
for 30
on,
seconds.
yeah, and then Ahsoka's on some planet with porgs, and she's just like turns around, and she's like,
Yeah.
what's up? But yeah, they went full on Ahsoka in this one, and I love that she's like a ninja Jedi, because I always wanted to see a Jedi
who's stealth,
move around like a ninja.
Yeah. No, she was, I mean, even though I'm only, 3 seasons essentially into Clone Wars, I know enough about what essentially the bullet points. I know, she obviously trained as a Jedi, but at some point she was like, I don't like how you guys are doing things. I'm leaving. But she doesn't become a Sith. She's neutral.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know she goes against Vader later on, I think during Rebels, from what I recall. And she senses, like, she gets like the hunch that like she's something's off. From this is just third party hearing things from you,
right.
Things like that, which I think is great. So I mean, I guess my question is, how do you feel about the casting?
I am fine with the casting. Like I think Rosario, I've been a fan of Rosario since Kids.
Yeah.
Right, which was her first major kind of appearance. I mean, that was an indie film, but it was her first kind of appearance. And of course, she's one of the VOSQ Universe alums, so I automatically love almost everybody who is in a Kevin Smith film.
Yeah.
And she's appeared a couple times. She was in Clerks, and she was in some Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yeah.
And plus, she's a nerd. Like I've seen her at Comic-Con talk about comic books, and like she has she has nerd cred, and that adds to it. And she took this role. One, she was enthusiastic about doing the role. Right, this came from a fan cast.
Yeah.
Someone mocked up a picture of her as Ahsoka, and she was all about it. And that's
they've been posting it
started
everywhere. Yeah, they've been posting it everywhere. Like, hey, remember this? Like from a few years ago, and now it's real.
Yeah, and that sparked the discussion with Dave Filoni over at Lucasfilm with Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau. So that started way before the first season started. Like, she was already cast, because it was related revealed. Like, there was a famous photo of George Lucas with Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah,
right. It's a really blurry picture, kind of, with him holding Baby Yoda. It was revealed like this week that just off camera, Rosario Dawson was standing there dressed as Ahsoka
for this episode.
For that episode, like that's when it took place. That's when that photo took place, was that for this episode, because she was in Ahsoka garb, and Ahsoka is the creation of Dave Filoni and George Lucas. Like George Lucas had a big part in creating Ahsoka. Yeah, so people I think forget that George Lucas had a big hand in the Clone Wars, the cartoon.
Yeah. Like it was, because I watched that behind the scenes of the first season of Mandalorian, where Filoni talks about how he became a part of it, how he was hired to lead it, and he was like he thought it was a joke. He thought, like, because he worked on Avatar, he worked on a few things before, and
Avatar the cartoon, not Avatar the
not
James
that
Cameron
one.
thing.
Yeah, the cartoon. But how he thought it was a joke, essentially, and I know that.
Yeah,
it became a thing where he was like, I can't believe it. I just met, and I know they're super close now.
Yeah, that's why, like, the combination of Favreau and Filoni the Foo Fighters, is what Star Wars needed. Like,
Yeah.
Favreau has the vision to bring Star Wars forward with, he's like a fan, but he also understands, I think, the universe in a way, and how to tell a story in this universe.
Mhm.
Whereas I think the problem with the sequel trilogy is that they were fans making what they wanted as a Star Wars movie, whereas Favreau, I think, is making Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Right. But I think with Filoni by his side, Filoni keeps it Star Wars because he is basically the disciple of George Lucas.
Yeah.
He understands the philosophy behind Star Wars and what George was trying to say and do with the universe, in a way that nothing and no one can really truly know besides Filoni. Like, Filoni needs another disciple just in case. Like, he needs to pass on his, he needs to pass on the lightsaber to somebody.
He
just
probably
in case.
is. There is a wonderful meme that I saw that I need to share with you. It's just someone like in like a sunset, like doing this. And it's just a big, they're praying to like a god or something, and it's just Dave Filoni's head with a smile on his face. And I'm like, yes, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That sums it up.
And
in Filoni we trust, essentially.
Yeah, and I think, it shows in The Last Jedi that Rian Johnson, like, I don't know how much JJ and Kasdan and who's the guy who wrote Rise of Skywalker? Terrio?
Terrio.
Chris Terrio?
Yeah.
I don't think they really... I don't see Kasdan going to Dave Filoni and being like, hey, what would Han do during this one?
Yeah, unfortunately, because I feel like if Filoni was at least a producer on the trilogy, I feel like writing wise, it would have been stronger.
Yeah, Filoni can do what I wish the story group was able to do, like tell people that no, this would not be. This is not like, I feel like the story group. What I thought they would be is what Filoni could be. Is like making sure that Star Wars stays Star Wars. I think the story group just says, I guess it could happen. But they don't really they're not there to tell someone, no, you can't do this. They're more like, I guess it fits, kind of. No, you can't have a Ferrari in Star Wars. But
that's the extent of it, though.
Whereas Filoni would be like, but that goes against the universe. That kind of goes against what George thought about whatever. And I know there's been, the only documentation I know is that Rian Johnson did talk to Filoni about.
I didn't know that.
So that's the only it's been talked about. So, but I've never heard it talked about with JJ. So
that's, I'm considering how both you and I feel about The Last Jedi, which is, we think it's great, as opposed to it's hard to tell how many, if there are more people that don't like it versus more people that do like it. It doesn't really matter. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that they both talked, at least. And knowing that now makes so much sense, because it just, The Last Jedi, as we both agree, just started expanding it. Because we saw new things.
I was thinking about that too. I feel like Rian Johnson, I feel like having someone go in and actually try to expand that universe, just, it didn't fit with the trilogy, because the trilogy, if the trilogy was always meant to be the last part of the Skywalker saga, totally the Skywalker saga, not just this is what happens after Luke. You know what I mean? Because he tried to move forward, and then in Rise of Skywalker, they just kind of pulled everything back. I think that was a problem. Like, Rian Johnson tried to do what he should have done after. Where he should have made, the fan film that everyone wanted, and then moved on and been like, all right, now you have free reign to make your trilogy any way you want. Right? Question the dogma of the Jedi and all these kind of things that people were just not ready for in the last part of the Skywalker saga. But back to the Jedi. So Ahsoka, what I love also is that, a lot of people were kind of taken aback by her violence or whatever, and I guess it really depends on when you think this takes place. Ahsoka's story begins but does not end with the Clone Wars. Like, there is a book that takes place in between, and then we see her in Rebels, and Filoni's even said, like, the epilogue in Rebels, where we last see Ahsoka in animated form, no one really knows when that epilogue takes place. It's kind of like the epilogue at the end. Well, it'd be like the epilogue at the end of Harry Potter, where you see Harry Potter and the kids in really bad old makeup.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be like 17 years, whatever years later. But they say 17 years later.
Yeah.
They never really say when the epilogue takes place. And if you really, really think, because everyone assumes it's right after Return of the Jedi. But if you really, like, you haven't seen it yet, but if you really pay attention to the context of it, it's actually probably longer. So everyone thinks that Ahsoka in The Mandalorian is after the epilogue, because this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, or so. I think it's not. I think this is Ahsoka's appearance here happens before her appearance in the epilogue of Rebels, which makes a lot of sense, given Dave Filoni's direction of Ahsoka in this episode, which is, she's less the rambunctious Jedi. She's more like the Gandalf we see in the Fellowship. She's still like, because if you watch Lord of the Rings, like Gandalf the Gray and Gandalf the White seem like two very different characters. It's kind of like that kind of thing, and she's been through a lot. She suffered a lot of loss. And everything that happens to her while she was a Jedi, everything that happens to her after she's a Jedi, it makes sense that there's a little bit, not anger, but like she has a sense of justice, and she's not a Jedi, so she's like,
no,
I don't have to be like,
she doesn't have to follow any rules.
Like she sees a town oppressed, and she has the power to change it. She's gonna do it. Again, like I said, she skirts that line between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and I feel like she's definitely both. Like, this is definitely the Anakin side of her that we see when she's ninjaing through the forest, mowing down people, which was amazing.
It was incredible seeing her do that.
Like, I love that this episode takes a lot from the Kurosawa, like, samurai films, but also blends it with traditional, like, Western stuff too.
Right? Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I thought that episode was, I'd say, brilliantly directed. I feel like Filoni's really got some good when it comes to I know he's like new to live action, and he was terrified of doing it because he just did animation stuff before. But that was incredible. I'd say it was. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite of this season, especially so far. But I thought it was great. And I know I mentioned this last season. My only, again, nitpick of the show in general is, when I say the music, I don't mean all of it. I mean, the theme is perfect. I think the theme for this is, because it's different. Whenever it tries to be Star Warsy, if that makes sense, it feels off to me, like it doesn't fit. Because I think we could all agree, no matter who the composer is, no one's going to get close to what John Williams did. Ever. With all three trilogies. So I like it when it's still the weird stuff. But what I loved about with the Jedi, that episode, was there was hardly any music in it. It was mostly like ambient, if anything. And that made it more intense, especially that, those two face-offs at the end. It made it more intense.
And the music he did was still his weird kind of sounds or whatever, but he incorporated a lot of previous pieces. Like when you see Ahsoka her theme is playing,
Yeah.
albeit a little bit differently. And then when she mentions Yoda, you hear the Yoda
You
theme.
hear Yoda's theme, which made me literally cry.
Yeah. And I like that during like the celebration kind of scene. It harkened back to what the old. I feel like what the old, well, not maybe the old, but like the Ewok celebration song where like it's woodwinds and kind of things, but it's the Mandalorian theme, but in a what's it called? Oh my god, I'm a musician. I'm trying to think of the word. Like a positive.
Yeah.
What's word am I looking for? Going from
it goes from like kind of somber and eerie to more upbeat, if anything.
Yeah, like it changed
That's what
from
you're
like
looking for.
Like when you change octaves where it sounds
Okay.
dark, but then
it went from minor to major.
Yes, minor to major. That's it. It's not like it went from minor to major. I'm like,
yeah, it did.
I'm like, it's going from sharp to no, that's not it.
Brain fart. It happens.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it felt like a major version of the Mandalorian theme.
Yeah.
So, but the big thing about this episode was the name drop again of Grand Admiral Thrawn, which you haven't met, but I'm sure you've heard the name.
I know of him. I know essentially how ruthless he is as a.
Yeah, the thing is, like, he's not ruthless. Like, he's a really great villain because he's not like the Emperor.
He's calculated, yeah.
Yeah, he's calculated, but I love the way how he is calculated. He like studies his enemies in a way that I haven't seen anyone study someone before. Like, he really, and I love that they brought it from the books to Rebels, is that he's the kind of guy who will study a culture or his enemy's art, because that tells him a lot of what he needs to know about who he's up against. But yeah, he's not like the Darth Vader where you say something wrong and like force choke. Like he'll reprimand, but he's not that person. Like, he doesn't want to lead through fear, but yet he does lead through fear, but in a different way. It's almost like a psychological fear. But yeah, he's a very formidable person. So a lot of people are like, is he gonna show up? Is he Ahsoka gonna show up again? I feel like this is a one and done for her in this show.
Yeah,
I think she played her part. She put Din Djarin and Baby Yoda on their path. And again, like, skipped over the part that she name dropped also Grogu. Like, she named Grogu. Which is a big thing, because I love the fact whenever Din says Grogu, he has like a reaction.
like like a cat with a little trail. Yeah, actually responds to him.
Like, that's awesome, and we'll get into that again with the next episode. But like, I feel like this might be a backdoor pilot or a lead into another series, which I hope is live action.
I hope so too, because it's working out for them so far.
Yeah, because I feel like she can play this character. Like, she's expressed that she wants to. I'm pretty sure she is. Like, I feel like you don't do this one and done. Especially this character, because Filoni loves this character. Like, and there's a story there that needs to be told, and everyone wants to see it. So everyone's been there's a rumored Rebels sequel series. Everyone assumed it would be animated, but I would not be opposed to seeing it in live action. So given what they did with this series, I think they can totally pull off a series with Ahsoka and other characters that we might know.
Yeah, I have complete faith in them for sure. Yeah, they could totally pull it off.
This episode also gave us Morgan Elsbeth, played by Diana Lee Inosanto, who is the goddaughter of Bruce Lee.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Her father is one of the guys who trained with Bruce Lee. So I mean, that's why uh, you you hire someone who can go toe to toe with a Jedi, and that's
Yeah.
someone who knows martial arts and whatever. So that's who she was, and hopefully, I assume like we don't know what happens to her. So
No, like it's
like I don't
like
think she's not like Ahsoka's not like an well, I mean, like, yeah, she killed all those guards and whatever, but like I don't think she would have executed her.
no, because that was it seemed like she would have the kind of like mutual respect. She was just trying to get information out of her, and she got it.
She got it.
I could assume she did.
Yeah, right. My only gripe with this one is that we don't get more Michael Biehn. From him.
It was great when he showed up. I was like, is that because I didn't, I don't read up on the episodes before, so everything's a surprise. Like even the directors, it was a surprise every time. Yeah, seeing him was great. I've been a fan of his obviously since Aliens and the first Terminator. Yeah, he was great. I mean, he didn't last long.
That's why like I wish he did.
Yeah.
And I wish kind of like his duel with the Mandalorian lasted longer and actually like, but it fit, I guess, that character. So but yeah.
I liked his approach to the Mandalorian because he knew he probably couldn't face him directly. He was trying to soften him up. He was like, well, let's see how it goes. Oh, I guess you won. I mean, still Mandalorian was,
Mandalorian's like
a step
really
ahead of him.
Yeah. So and at the end of the episode, obviously Ahsoka puts Din Djarin on another path to a planet called Tython, which is from the video games. It's one of the starting areas in the Star Wars Old Republic MMO.
Yeah.
As one of the beginning areas for the Jedi classes. It's supposed to be one of the, if not the first, one of the first Jedi temples, which might be retconned a little bit because Ahch-To is supposed to be the first Jedi temple. But who knows? It could just be semantics. Kind of like, where was the first hamburger made? Was it really at this little place in New York, or was it another place in New York? Whatever.
Yeah, I think they can make it work. It makes sense that there would be more than one Force-heavy origin location. It would be in several places throughout the galaxy, maybe even the universe.
I mean,
it's fine.
I mean, to me, this having Tython be an actual thing now, in canon is amazing. So,
I mean, I know what I do. I'd bring the Starspeeder into a movie if I ever got one.
It'd be awesome if Star Tours showed up.
Yeah, it's just, like, even if it was just in the background, I'd make it work. That and the Outrunner from Shadows of the Empire, one of my favorite Star Wars ships that is Legends now. But was it the Outrunner or Outrider? I forgot which one. What it was called.
Outrider.
Outrider. Yeah, thank you. But why not?
Yeah, put a pin on that.
Yeah.
Which leads us to this week's episode, entitled. Well, I mean, what were your, like, a quick thought, like, impression, like, what's your first, like, what did you think of this episode? We'll discuss. We'll get into it.
Yeah,
but
we'll
like,
get into it.
This a quick, like, what's your initial? This is what I thought of this episode.
It was sensory overload for me. Like it was. I cried during this episode for like different reasons, like sadness. Even though we already talked about what things that could happen. Did for the most part. We had a feeling that Goku would be taken at some point. Whether temporarily, and it happened, and it was still made me really sad. And just and seeing Boba Fett, not obviously never lost his touch. Just a huge mix of emotions where I was like foggy-eyed throughout the episode.
Yeah, I watched it at midnight, like literally at midnight, and I was standing up the whole time. Like it was,
I bet.
I like I like quietly cheered because it's late and I don't want to wake my neighbors, but like and we'll get into a lot of it, but I mean, like, seeing the things that we saw, I was like, and
Yeah.
then knowing what's going on, what's happening, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Just it. I didn't think anything could really top, seeing Bo-Katan and Ahsoka.
Mhm.
We saw Boba Fett earlier, and we're like, all right, cool. But there's something about seeing Boba Fett be Boba Fett, because we never really got to see Boba Fett be
No,
Boba
not
Fett
really.
in any live action, or even in the animated series. Because when we see Boba Fett in the animated series, he's still a kid.
Yeah.
So we don't. The only thing we know about Boba Fett is like he's an angry kid. But I don't know if you've gotten to that part in Clone Wars where you meet Boba Fett again.
Yeah, where he pretty much blends in with all the other clones.
Okay, so that's where you are.
Yeah, which I thought was great. But yeah, this episode, seeing him, because you and I've talked about, just for fun, like if we were got like a Star Wars movie like together, what would we do?
Yeah.
And it would be a Boba Fett, and
movie.
movie where he would be terrifying. He'd be dangerous, and we kind of got that. Like, and he used his rifle. I love that he's using, and it makes sense that his weapons are all the Tusken Raider weapons, but he pretty much fought in melee the majority of the time.
Right.
And he's brutal. Yeah, he's just like, what I love that we see, like, the stormtrooper armor just get completely destroyed by him. Like, they're just in pieces.
Because the running thing about Star Wars stormtroopers is like, what is their armor good for? Like, what really does it protect you from? Like, nothing really.
Yeah.
And like, you just go by Finn, and it's like, it doesn't even protect you from like poison. It's just it just filters the air, kinda.
Yeah, again, going back to what I said earlier about the Empire and their like this cheap Empire junk, it makes sense. Stormtroopers are terrible shots. Probably has some. I'm sure the armor doesn't help. You can't see out those things
because so like
they care more about quantity
like
over quality.
I feel like it's the visual representation of having an army of these troopers clad all in white quote unquote armor just coming at you. Like sheer numbers and but I it was a really short episode, but it was like so packed with so much. Answered so much, but had left you with so many questions. So let's get into it. I love the scene in the beginning because, and I knew that Robert Rodriguez was directing an episode. I didn't know which one he was directing.
Yeah.
Before I saw the credits at the end, I knew it was him.
Yeah. Because it screams him.
Yeah, there was something I'm like watching it going like, oh my god,
this feels familiar.
This has got to be Robert Rodriguez. And sure enough, it was. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, at the end when I saw his name, I was like, oh yeah, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah, there's something about the way he does action and things. Like, he's such the movies he directs and writes and does are so vastly different. He can go from, like Sin City and like his Desperado, El Mariachi kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then he also did Spy Kids.
He does Spy Kids.
Right. He's got a new superhero kid movie coming out on Netflix this month, which I want to watch because it looks kind of cool.
And I know Pedro Pascal's in it too.
Yeah, right. And it's like he has these like really kid-friendly things, but really not kid-friendly things.
Yeah, the polar opposite. Yeah.
But there's something about everything screamed to me, this is Robert Rodriguez. This has got to be Robert Rodriguez. And I was so happy to see his name. And there's another name I'll mention later, but like the storytelling just in the opening and then the reveal of the title of the episode was it, because it's essentially you see him playing ball with Grogu.
Yeah.
And him enjoying, like, it feels like he was just enjoying his time.
Yeah, like I love his reaction every time he said his name, like Grogu, and he's like, oh, he goes, like
he starts chuckling.
He's just happy,
right?
To just be able to interact with him, and like when he gets angry, my interpretation of him getting angry after Grogu took the little ball from him was he doesn't want to give him up.
Yeah.
Um, like
Yeah.
just like what Ahsoka said in the previous episode, like you're like a father to him.
In the attachment. Yeah.
He's crazy about him.
Yeah, and when he's like talking about like we have once we find a Jedi, you're gonna have to go with them no matter what, okay?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's more not just like the telling Grogu what's going to happen, but like he's trying to tell himself that this is the right thing to do. Like I cannot train this guy, and he needs training.
Yeah,
but I feel like the more he tries to do it, he's going to be less inclined to actually want to go through with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to be the story throughout. But I remember watching this, and going like, "Oh, that was cute," stuff, and then like the title of
tragedy.
The episode,
like, oh,
I was like, "Oh
right.
God."
Yeah.
And that's when I stood up. Literally, I was sitting down, and then I saw the title. I stood up because I'm like, I can't stand. I can't sit down for this. This is gonna be
a hard one. I mean, we talked about like we should get ready for some heartbreak for this season, and we're starting to.
But I thought we'd have another episode of like, we had the bombshell of Ahsoka. I thought there would be another kind of like episode where they kind
go
of
like essentially go do a job type thing.
Yeah, and then we get into the meat and potatoes, the last two episodes, kind of like last season where the last two episodes were tied together.
Yeah,
but I did not. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh God, this is it. Oh God, this is it. But yeah, I was like, that title reveal is probably the most. There was so much in just that opening sequence and that title that brought you from this like almost elation to severe dread.
Yeah, because you're like, what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen?
Is the Empire gonna show up? I mean, they do, but so when they go to that area to have Grogu essentially trying to communicate with any Jedi out there, I thought the Empire was just gonna show up out of nowhere, but we see the beautiful Slave One show up, and I lost
my mind when I saw that thing.
Because we hear it first, we hear that unique sound it makes, and then when I heard the sound, that's when I lost it, and then we see it, and I'm like, it's like we all forgot that Boba Fett showed up at the end of the first episode.
Yeah, because I felt like, because I like you, I knew that was Boba Fett in season 1. Like, there's nothing like I like this. It's got to be Boba Fett, and then we see him in the first episode. So I'm like, I think you're gonna do it just like in first season 1, we just hear his that sound and his footsteps. Season 2, we see him.
He survived. That's it.
We see him in a cloak thing and with a gaffy stick and whatever. And I felt like, so I think he's gonna reveal him slowly, and then like season 4, he'll be like
then he'll show up. Yeah,
he'll show up fully. Nope, Slave One.
Here he is.
I was not expecting it, and I was like, I said, like, if I was not standing up already, I would have jumped out of my seat.
You'd be levitating, essentially.
Yeah, I would be able. I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. The only thing, my nitpick on this episode, is if when watching the recap, and they kind of, whatever they recap, they kind of, it foreshadows what's going to happen in the episode. So I wish the recap was more like seeing him turn around and then like, okay, so Boba Fett's in this one, right?
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't him walking up to Fennec Shan, because the second time I almost jumped, was like, I have a sharpshooter on the thing. I'm like, oh my God, it's her.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it.
I knew the first season, we're all talking about how bummed we are that that was it. She was only in one episode. Like, it'd be great if they brought her back.
Yeah, you can't cast Ming-Na Wen in this role. The role of a bounty hunter, sharpshooter, sniper, assassin, and not have her be a bounty hunter's sharpshooter assassin. And not see it really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
we got it. And we're getting
I
more
was
of it.
Not disappointed whatsoever in
Yeah.
how she was portrayed. And I love Ming-Na Wen forever and ever. I'll love her. And what I love about her is like, she's also a Star Wars, like she also has wanted to be in Star Wars like forever. And
Mhm.
but I can the whole like, oh yeah, he saved me, and then it's like she's like reveals that she's part robot or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, Star Wars.
Yeah. Thank you, Star Wars.
Thank you, Star Wars.
Yeah.
In a world where Darth Maul fell cut in half and he came back with spider legs.
Yeah.
All right, Star Wars. Star Wars
That's the
logic. Good.
that's the cheesiness that we love so much
Right?
about Star
Like
Wars.
death.
Yeah.
If they can be saved with robotic parts, you're good. Like
Yeah.
like Luke's hand.
Yeah.
You know,
If you're a Jedi, if you're a Jedi and you die, I mean, you die, but you're even more powerful even afterwards.
Apparently,
So,
right?
yeah.
Because and it's very Star Wars, because the first thing we really learn about, like one of the first things we learn about Vader in Empire is that he's more machine now than man.
Yeah.
Twisted
Yeah.
and evil.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And
all
it
right.
just, yeah.
So
And that one scene in Empire, just where no dialogue, just when one of the officers walks in and we see like his messed up skull
thing, yeah.
like just like I love that's what's so great about that is just not a word of dialogue and we are already learning so much like
about him.
Oh, he has a past and he's just a guy, I think, like
right?
Yeah, just thinking of not just only at that point only seeing Star Wars A New Hope, just not all the stuff we know now. And the same thing goes for the Emperor. Like even in Return of the Jedi, we didn't really know it's evil guy.
Right.
But we get little details here and there. But even down to how because when Boba Fett shows up at the end of that first episode of the season, we don't really get too much detail, but seeing how he looks,
like his face.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh man, is that what happened to him in the Sarlacc pit? Like he got almost started being digested.
Yeah.
But that 1,000-year process started, and somehow he got
clearly.
out.
So he was in there for a little while, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned a lot during this.
But yeah, I love just seeing Fennec Shan and the Mandalorian fend off a whole wave of stormtroopers.
Yeah. To the point where they retreat.
Yeah.
They scare them away.
I love the fact that the one who's on the E-Web machine gun thing is like, I'm going to destroy this boulder before it gets to me. And you're just like, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So yeah, my girlfriend and I were watching it. During that moment, she was like, "What are you doing?" Like, she's like, "Who do you think you are? Really?"
I'm like, boulder shot, Lucasfilm trademark.
Yeah. Yeah, they decimated those stormtroopers, and I feel like if they had a chance with the dark troopers, they would have annihilated them too. But the Dark Troopers came in, took Grogu, then just left again.
Right. But not before like we see, one, the brutality and like what makes Boba Fett, and he's exactly the kind of what I wanted. Like what we thought about when our dream movie of doing a Boba Fett movie, because we always said he would be. It would be like almost like it's our homage to 80s movies like Terminator and Predator. And Alien and stuff like that, where the title of the movie is the antagonist, basically.
It wouldn't be like he has a heart. It'd be no, he's
it's not
he's the predator.
Elektra. He's the predator. I want everyone, because like there's a whole big thing with fandom. It was always a big thing with fandom, but like some people who don't understand Boba Fett and why everyone's like he's awesome when he just looking at what he's done in the movies is not really awesome.
Yeah, we don't see him. He kind of gets embarrassed. Like how he goes out and
he literally gets like hit by Han accidentally on his jetpack, and he runs into the katana and falls into the Sarlacc, and then the Sarlacc burps.
Yeah,
like that's how he went out. And so everyone's like, "That's what." And he's wearing cargo pants. Like that's all. Like all he does. I'm like, yeah, but look at him.
I mean, he looks cool. We all agree.
He's got a jetpack
that malfunctions when you hit it.
Yeah, apparently.
That did.
But like you think about it, though, you're like, if you really think about it, you're like, I guess he doesn't really do much Like he has,
Yeah, he doesn't.
he nods to some people in Jabba's palace. All we know is like he has a cool ship. He
Yeah,
disguised himself as garbage,
yeah.
and then he made it to Bespin before Han.
Yeah, there
That's all we know.
is. Yeah, we get like hints to how great he is. Like my favorite moment that I kind of discovered recently watching the original trilogy
Yeah.
is in Empire when we first see him, and it's after Han is in Carbonite and they're leaving, and Luke and R2 are already in Bespin and they're already kind of sneaking in. There's a moment where I'm sure you know exactly the shot I'm thinking
Yeah,
of,
I know.
where Luke is around the corner, and if you look, Boba's in front, and then you see Han,
Yeah.
in the Carbonite. And if you look at Boba Fett, he does this. Just a quick, he just turns.
Yeah, like
he
he knows.
totally
He
knew
knows
exactly, Luke,
who
someone
is-
was there. But he
Yeah.
turned back. He's like, I'm going to wait. And then, he gets to jump on Luke. So we get hints, obviously being able to track, the Falcon. But I just love how brutal he is in this episode, and I love that. Yeah, he used his, he has reused a rifle once or twice, but I love that he decided, no, I'm going to take these guys out.
He used
with
knee cannons, whatever
Yeah.
he has on his
Yeah.
knees. Like,
yeah,
of course,
I just need
he
these.
has that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that it's not like it's Boba Fett in his armor, but because it's not the thing he wears under it,
Yeah.
he has a completely new look,
Yeah.
but it's still Boba Fett.
Yeah. It's
like I now need that figure. Like,
yeah, give it time. Hopefully they make it.
Oh, I mean, like there's like 8 versions of Boba Fett. Like,
Yeah.
like this one behind me is the first 6-inch figure that they had.
Mhm.
They have like multiple versions of him now.
Yeah.
I feel like they're pushing Boba Fett. Like we talked about it on one of the podcasts. They renewed like the Boba Fett trademark for something. Lucasfilm did.
Oh, really?
So we're like, oh, there's got to be something going on with Boba Fett, and this
They're gonna
might be
give us
part of
stuff.
it. Like we're gonna give like Boba Fett version 2, like Mandalorian version, and I've been like, I'm all about it because he looks. I love the look where it's like Boba Fett, but like partly like Tusken Raider.
Yeah.
Like I hope he comes with like one his jetpack. I hope they give him a jetpack that fires a missile, just to harken back to the old toy.
Yeah, the old toy because I lost it, because I had that original figure that I gave to a good friend of mine years ago. But I lost that. It's like the lightsabers from the old figures, like they're gone. Like you're not gonna be able to.
Yeah, I remember replacing my old lightsaber with spaghetti, like spaghetti noodles, and like coloring it with marker because they fit in the first because it always was a little hole, holding like a tube.
yeah, pretty much. I should have thought of that when I was a kid. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is like spaghetti noodles. Boom. But what was I saying? If we're going on this, anyway, yeah. I mean, there's got to be some. But I was saying, like, I want him to come with like this the jetpack that fires, but I also want like the gaffy stick.
Yeah.
And the Tusken Raider rifle that he uses.
The rifle, yeah.
And that whole like robe thing that is kind of peeking out under the armor. But I love as soon as he like took down that one commander trooper and then he looked at the Razor Crest, I'm like, for a second I was like, oh, is he gonna steal the Razor Crest? I'm like, oh no, he knows where it is. He knows where it is.
Yeah, because he disappears for a while and then he shows up with the armor on.
And then like the most surprising thing, like if it wasn't a surprise after another, one, seeing Slave 1, 2, like reaffirming that Fennec Shan is alive, and then like having Boba Fett in his armor. I did not expect them to blow up the Razor Crest. Yeah,
that hurt. I'll be honest with you.
That did hurt because I spent $350 on the toy. Not that like it's still one of my favorites. It's an awesome ship. I don't mind.
It's still great.
But I'm like, is he gonna get another ship? Am I gonna have to buy that at some point?
You'll have like 2 different. Yeah, just it wasn't like before where it was like kind of damaged and then they get fixed again. It's damaged and fixed, but no, there's nothing left.
I was like, every single time it got beat up, I'm like, oh, please survive and get it fixed. And they got it fixed last episode or whatever, or the
Yeah.
episode before that, like sweet, awesome, cool. But it's gone. Like the tragedy of that he's facing is like, one, he loses Baby Yoda, right?
Yeah.
But he also lost his ship. Like that's
Mhm.
his thing, other thing. Like
It's his thing. Yeah.
it's him, Baby Yoda, and his ship. So there's that. And then that's the Grogu, little Grogu.
Baby Grogu.
You know, it, like that rock thing, like reminded me of the Last Jedi
Yeah.
kind of
Totally.
thing that Rey and Luke would sit on, and you know,
Mhm.
it's like almost the same thing. Like Luke places Rey's hand on the rock, and it's the same hand that Grogu puts on the
Yeah.
rock, and then boom, weird Jedi force field thing.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, he was in his like Jedi trance meditation thing,
Very, very, very Yoda of him in
right?
that little stance, that little how he's sitting.
Yeah. And it's like something we haven't really seen in live action is like
Mhm.
almost like this weird physical manifestation of something very Jedi. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like even in Last Jedi, we don't see like if anything like that. Like, you know, we want to see Luke, you know, meditating on the rock, and then these lights and whatever
Yeah.
happen. So I like that it's kind of expanding the kind of mysticism of the Force visually. But and that's our first question is like, what happened during that meditation thing? Like, is he
Yeah.
talking to someone? Is he seeing a vision? Like, what do you think? What do you think? What's your prediction on what he did?
So it's kind of, so I've had a theory since the last episode of what
Right.
could maybe happen that I'm hoping does. I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking this. But you know, the whole purpose of him going there is to essentially reach out to maybe other Jedi out there that could help him.
Yeah. Which was kind of what
And
Ahsoka said,
yeah,
kind of, right? In
yeah,
a
yeah,
way.
yeah. But she also, you know, there's not that many of us left, which is true. Like
Yeah.
I know, even though I haven't seen Rebels, I know of Ezra.
Okay.
I don't know much about him. I is like, as far as, I mean, you could spoil it for me. It's fine because you know a lot of things that happen in Clone Wars have also been spoiled for me throughout the years. Just without me even trying. Um, so is Ezra more of a Padawan? Does he reach Jedi status? Is he neutral? Like roughly, like as far as amount.
Like
Unless
I
you
know,
don't want to spoil it for me.
like I really don't, because, but if no, because like it's a storyline,
Yeah.
where there's a struggle with him. So I
Yeah.
want you to kind of go through it with him,
Okay,
kind of
that's
thing.
fine.
It'll be
Like
more
I know he
impactful
exists.
if you don't, yeah. Like, you know,
Okay.
I mean, I would assume that you know that he exists and there's some tie to Ahsoka and
Yeah.
um, some other characters and Grand Admiral Thrawn and whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah, that much I know. But as
yeah,
far
I
as like
mean,
his actual journey, I don't know. And I'm gonna get there at some point.
yeah,
But aside from that, unless there is another Jedi that survived Order 66 that they haven't revealed yet, I think he did. I think he did reach out to someone. And considering when this takes place, it can only be one person. Which, so after the last episode, I talked about it with my girlfriend,
mm,
like who could it be reaching out to, and I this won't surprise you. I literally started crying. I couldn't say his name without crying.
yeah.
I think he did reach out to someone, and I think it's Luke.
I mean, that's the big theory, right? Like, there's a
Yeah,
lot of people like, because like, you know, unless they like pull and create a new Jedi,
yeah,
there are
which they
only
could do.
really a handful that we know of, right? And
Hmm.
I think, you know, again, like they don't just craft parts of the story without having something in mind. Like, you don't
Yeah.
say that Baby Yoda was rescued from the temple by
Hmm.
somebody and not
Hmm.
like build upon that, right?
Hmm.
It could have just been very easily that like somehow he escaped, right?
Yeah,
But it was deliberate in language is that someone helped him escape.
because they knew because Order 66 was going down.
Yeah, like I mean, that could have whoever that was might have been killed in the process or whatever. We don't know. It was a Jedi. Maybe at some point that Jedi got executed by Order 66, but someone did, and I feel like we might find out that story at some point. I hope we do.
Yeah.
But at this time, which is after Return of the Jedi, obviously, yes, Luke is the number one obvious, because especially for people who've only seen the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, we've met Ahsoka. It's not going to be her. Ezra, obviously, is a name that's been bandied around. He is still, as far as we know, around. There is, we don't know exactly the fate of Cal Kestis, who is the character from the Jedi Fallen Order game. So there's that. And we don't know the nature of that Jedi thing. Like, is it strictly Jedi, or is it a very Force thing? Which means like anyone who's strong in the Force would sense it.
Yeah.
Right. And there are, like, I don't know what happened to all of Vader's Inquisitors, which were Force users.
Yeah.
Right. And also there are, non-Jedi, non-Sith, Force-sensitive characters.
Yeah.
But because the emphasis on Jedi and whatever, I feel like it's either he got to commune with someone in the Force, like how, Yoda and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon communed with, like each other, and with Luke. So, yeah, I mean, is the big reveal Luke Skywalker?
Yeah, are they bringing Mark back?
Right? Like, there's another mystery, because we do not know the director of Episode 8. They didn't reveal that, which means, I mean, I feel weird that if it was just Jon Favreau, I'd be like, why not just say it?
Yeah, why not just
that would make sense, right?
Yeah.
So, like, my thing is, I think it is Luke, but I don't know if we're going to see him, obviously, because Mark is too old to play that era Luke.
Well, yeah, I mean, they could probably do something along the lines of how they made him look
de-aging and whatever.
Yeah, a little bit like how they made him look at the end of The Last Jedi, like that version of him, like the version that Ben remembers him as. They could do something like that and do some de-aging, but I mean, I know that if they asked him, he'd say, "Well, yeah, of course." As far, I just thought of, because why would they hide the director?
I know some people are going to be like, no way, and who knows if he would, but again, he was on set. Like I said, he was revealed.
Right.
He was there. He is, and if you Ahsoka's in it, and if you do reveal that is Luke, who better to direct an episode with Luke than the plaid man himself?
Yeah.
Because I don't know why you would not reveal that, because they've revealed them before.
Yeah.
Like, Jon Favreau is a no-brainer if he did it. Like, I think people would assume that he would have done it. Yeah. So it's not like, why not say who that is unless it's not someone who's been announced? But if you're not going to announce it, why not announce it if it's not a big name director?
Yeah.
Like, we know Peyton Reed, Bryce Dallas Howard, Carl Weathers, we knew, Robert Rodriguez, last season, Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
Unless it's like one of the big, like, if it was like Lucas, if it was like Spielberg, if it was like Scorsese, it was like,
it
was like directed by Quentin Tarantino. I'm like, okay. But I feel like the only, again, like kind of like the way you feel, like, there is one Jedi that everyone that knows the movies knows that it exists right now, and that is Luke. we know he's out there kind of looking for Jedi or whatever he's trying to do. And even if it's just kind of like not Force ghost, but like what if he's just like you hear Luke's voice, which Mark can totally do, obviously.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
But you know, the combination of Mark Hamill being directed by George Lucas for a Star Wars TV show,
everyone is going to lose if that's what happens.
Like, if that's the reveal, I'd be like, okay, that was.
Everyone's going to lose their mind.
You know, say like we have our issues with George Lucas directing the prequels, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is a different thing, and I think, even if it was one of those like he directed a scene, you know, if it came up like directed by Jon Favreau and George Lucas, I would be happy with that, just knowing that he had a touch in this, because I feel like because it's also Dave Filoni's involved, I feel like he trusts this a little more than the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that was more out of his hands, where this feels more in line with George's vision of these characters. So that's what I'm hoping. I mean, we'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks. At first I was thinking, I mean, it'd be cool if they brought Ryan back to direct an episode.
It was the only thing, right? But then, or is JJ or Ryan Johnson? But I feel like it's not.
Yeah, because because like Taika directed, you know, we know he's going to make a Star Wars movie at some point. Yeah. I think, so yeah, if it's a big secret, I agree. Who else would you want to?
Ron Howard, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But even then,
I think because he's directed Solo, so it's not like he'd be a weird, you know, choice. So I'm just like, unless they just, and I can't imagine there's like, we want to keep it a secret just because. No, like, you know, there's no reason to, unless it was someone big. Yeah. And again, we could just be reading too much into it, but
it can all be wishful thinking.
I mean, like, why release the director's list of who's directing what, but not episode 8?
Yeah,
if it's not Jon Favreau, because that would be like the no-brainer. Anyone else from the first season would be like, okay, cool, Rick Fumiyawa, whatever is back, or
Deborah Chow.
Deborah Chow is back.
But seeing at the end directed by George Lucas, like everyone would blow my mind. Yeah.
You know, like even if you didn't like the prequels, just like this is still a George Lucas's universe, right? Yeah. And having him be part of this TV universe, which he's done in obviously the animated show. So like it's not like he's not done TV, but a live action TV show that he was working on before any of this happened, would be amazing, and kind of like a solidified like a shot to fans being like, bring George Lucas back and whatever. Like it's almost like, all right, George approves of this and whatever, so he's part of it. You know, even if it's just a one episode, and I'd be fine with that. Be like, it's got the kiss of George Lucas forever.
Yeah, so. And he's been there, so.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's not shy. They're not shy about saying that he was there. Like, you know, because who was it? I think it was Peyton Reed that also denied he directed an episode until they revealed the list. He's like, yeah, I was there, but that's all. And then like, you directed episode 2, dude.
Yeah.
You know, Robert Rodriguez was there. And it was like, everyone was like, oh, maybe he just directed a part of it. No, he directed a full episode.
Yeah, he directed a full episode.
An amazing 33-minute episode, but whatever.
Seriously.
But yeah, so to get back to the episode, so we like obviously the Dark Troopers show up, which again was another like coming from video game. We play the video games, so especially the Dark Forces games. I'm just like, what? Like, I'm like, it's not a gripe, but I wish there was a little like confrontation between them and the Dark Troopers, but you know it's going to happen at some point. So you might as well save that for
later on
episode where it's like all full on tension, whatever, and then you're like, shoot him, and they shoot him, or they try to hit him with something, and like, oh, they're made out of Beskar. Crap.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was expecting, when Boba shows up at the end of the first episode of the season, I thought I thought he was going to be another antagonist against Din. But when at the end where he was like, no, we're in debt to you now, both of us, and I'm like just how, because another friend of mine, we've had little debates, like if it was like the Mandalorian versus Boba Fett, who would win? But
Boba Fett.
yeah, like at first I was like, oh, totally, Mandalorian would completely destroy. But after this episode, I'm like,
no,
he still got it, and he's still deadly, and now they're teaming up. And then I love that.
Never predicted that in my life. I would have never said like season 2 is going to end with a team up of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, and Fett and Mulan. Like, I would not have like what.
Yeah,
never would have thought of that. But like, I thought it's one of those things about Boba Fett. He does appear again in Clone Wars, so you'll see him again. And like, there's a little more nuance to him if you pay attention to the character when you watch him in the Clone Wars. So you'll have a little bit of a different kind of read because you'll know where he ends up. Like, we just knew he ended up in the Sarlacc when I was watching those episodes, right? So you're like, all right. But you now know that he survives and he has what I would consider some kind of honor system. Like, and it closed the argument that people had, and which I kind of bought into, was that he was not a Mandalorian, right? I don't know if you reached that episode yet.
Yeah, I did, where Obi-Wan mentions Jango and how how they're dude. Like he's like it just like it doesn't say no, but more like we don't really associate with them.
Which fits the narrative, so that still holds water, because turns out Jango Fett was a foundling, and it looks like the foundlings are a big thing in the Children of the Watch kind of faction thing.
Yeah,
right. They have since almost episode 1, they had this thing about foundlings, and like, he gave part of his bounty to fund the foundlings, right? So there's a big thing with them, and we know from Bo-Katan when she's like, oh, you're one of those, right? So it fits, like the guy on Mandalore who's like, oh, we don't associate them because he's a foundling. That makes sense and still ties into Mandalore. But I love the fact that he kind of talked about his father, and it's like really honorable kind of way, even though
like he's proud.
Like, I like how
go ahead.
As cheesy as it sounded, it kind of came up, but I was like, I really liked when he said, I'm just a man in the universe.
Like
what his father said.
From Attack of the Clones. Which is all he is. When it comes down to it, he's just another bounty hunter, just trying to get work.
Mandalorian was a bounty hunter. And so but that, and then like the way he talks about his father was very, like, I am a Jedi, like my father before me, kind of like, and the whole relationship with Din and Grogu is very father-son. So I like the addition of Boba Fett as, like, he had a very deep relationship with his father. But I like that he has this honor, which, like, I guess sometimes he's portrayed as being like heartless and whatever. But he does, he's not like, no bounty hunter is totally evil. I mean, they're more out for themselves and whatever, but there's a code, I guess, that some of them have. So it's nice to see that, and like, makes our Boba Fett movie like it would still work with that kind of person. So
it would. And I love that he proved like, this armor is mine by right, because
just take it without proving it.
Yeah, just like because even like the Mandalorian was like, no, I'm not giving him the armor. Like,
Yeah.
but at the end, how it was like, here's my father's DNA, here's mine. Like, I'm essentially showing that. I
This
mean,
is mine.
technically, it's mine because my father was a foundling, and I am because we know he is just a clone, essentially an unaltered clone
Unaltered
of
clone.
Django.
Right.
Just like we're literally I'm his
The
son, but I'm
same.
him. I'm
Yeah.
pretty much him again. Because
Yeah.
I remember if I remember right, in Attack of the Clones, like all the clones are just accelerated versions of Django.
Yeah. Pretty
Um,
much.
and he's just unaltered because Django wanted a son.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love how everything's being worked seamlessly into the show, like prequel, original, sequel, Clone Wars, everything, and even
Yeah.
some Legend stuff too.
Yeah. It's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And then it ends. I mean, like the scene where Baby Yoda or Grogu is being taken away, like the look on his face, I was just
Yeah.
like, oh man, like, uh, this is gonna be heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it was. Of course,
It
they get
was.
away with him. Like you knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
What I did not also foresee was like, one, we see, when on the Imperial ship, like Baby Yoda, Grogu, like going to town on
Yeah.
stormtroopers,
He's just annihilating them.
right? Like, it proves like he's very strong in the Force, definitely untrained, but you can tell there's a little bit of that dark side to
Oh yeah,
him.
definitely. He's
And
angry.
yeah, and you can't help it because he's been hanging out with a bounty hunter. It's like,
Yeah.
he's seen a lot
He's seen
of
some stuff. Yeah.
brutality and whatever coming from his father figure, so
Hmm.
that's no surprise. But like, again, we don't see a lot of Moff Gideon, but what we see of him and Giancarlo Esposito in this
Hmm.
one, like he was like almost playful with
Yeah.
Grogu, but like still in that I'm still kind of evil, but
Yeah.
you are, and I will be using you, but look at you, little thing.
Yeah. 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 He was almost proud.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah.
I mean, like, because like we still not sure what he's being used for exactly, because in
Yeah.
the first season, he says, that thing, like, he means more to you. That thing means more to me than you'll ever know.
Yeah.
Like, there's something personal here, I'm
Oh
thinking.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I'm
Definitely.
I'm looking forward to figuring out what that is, what his
Yeah.
actual
It's
plan is.
yeah. It seems like it's more than just I need this force sensitive creature to like experiment on. It seems like it's more than just that. More.
Yeah,
It's more than just typical Empire being evil stuff. There's more to it than that.
yeah, and um, he, the banter in the Siege episode where they're like, we don't want to try this with the volunteer until we have
Volunteer.
right. So I'm like, that's a very odd choice of word, like the volunteer. Like they have someone like who I thought that would be where Fennec Shan came in. I thought they might have.
Oh, okay.
I thought maybe Boba Fett found her, and then because Boba Fett still had a relationship with the Empire
Hmm.
before, so who knows? But it's obviously not. Now I'm wondering if that could be another reveal of another character pulled from somewhere that is on the Empire.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's Thrawn. Maybe that's where he comes to play. But who
It's
knows?
it's possible. Yeah.
Right? I don't
Uh,
think so. I don't think that's his thing, but it could be. Who
I
knows?
feel like it'd be a bigger role than that.
Yeah. Um, so who knows what that is about? But I like that he pulled out the saber.
Yeah, he showed
And
it off to
for
him. For a second, I thought he was going to use it on him. I was
I
like,
know,
"Don't do it." I was like, "Don't do it."
like I thought I knew he wouldn't kill him because obviously he
Yeah,
needs.
people
But I
would
thought he
riot.
was gonna do like kind of like in Princess Bride, like he gave him a scar, gave Inigo Montoya a
Oh yeah,
scar on his
yeah,
cheek.
yeah, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, I'll be like, don't you do it. And then one, that stormtrooper who stuns Baby Yoda's gotta die now because
Yeah.
that's gotta happen. Whoever it is, whatever. But I mean, um, we're left with that, but we're also left with, Din forming the Baby Yoda rescue group. Like,
yeah.
Like I knew that we would see Bill Burr again.
See, I didn't, so I was delighted to see that his character is probably going to be coming back.
Yeah, like because I'm just like, okay, that'd be a nice mix to this group, because he now will become in like this that unknown kind of factor, like
Yeah,
because he did end up in prison because of the Mandalorian.
yeah.
But the Mandalorian springs him, but doesn't mean there's not still some bad blood there.
Yeah, there's going to be. Yeah,
right. There's going to be something in the plan where Bill Burr's like, screw you.
Yeah, and
Boom.
if Cara Dune comes along, then that's going to be interesting, because he's ex-Imperial and she's now New Republic. So
and she's a marshal.
Yeah.
It solves the question of what that little badge thing was that the rebel pilot gave her. But who do you think there'll be any more people in the Baby Yoda rescue squad?
Aside from like the usual, like Cara, obviously Bill Burr's character. Yeah, I think we're gonna get a couple. Carl Weathers' character, obviously, I feel like he's gonna come along because everyone loves him.
And
he's
pretty much the grandfather.
Yeah, pretty much. yeah. It's like, guy, has he been taking care of you? I think that's it. I don't know who else they can bring along, to my knowledge.
I think Bo-Katan might show up, because she's also tied to the Darksaber, and she is looking for Moff Gideon.
She's looking for it. So she
like,
might.
I don't know if she'll come along, or she'll just end up showing up.
Yeah, which neither would surprise me.
Yeah, so I feel like next week's episode will probably be him gathering his forces, coming up with a plan of attack. I don't know what else would happen in that episode, because it's got to be like I feel like it's going to be a 2-part finale, right?
Yeah, I think so. Which it's things are going to get dicey, to say the least.
Yeah. But I feel like Bo-Katan can show up. I think it's like I said, I think Ahsoka's done with this series. I mean, like, kind of like, at least for now. Like, if she has her own series, maybe in the future it'll be like another crossover kind of thing. But who knows? But I hope maybe he asks Cobb Vanth to come back with him also, because he's good in the fight.
Yeah,
you're good in the fight, but he is you. Kind of thing. It'd be kind of cool to see. Because, like, there's another question: is why didn't Boba Fett get the armor from Cobb Vanth? He knew him. He said his name, so he knew he had it. I don't think the way that he handles stormtroopers, I feel like he could have easily gotten it back from Cobb Vanth, unless the whole honor thing. He's like, well, he's honoring it, but I feel like if he came there and said, "That's my armor," kind of like the way Mandalorian did, there'd be some kind of deal. So who knows what's going on? But like, what was Boba Fett doing on Tatooine at that time? Is he following the Mandalorian? Because he said he's been tracking him for a while.
Yeah.
When did that start? Why did that start? So I don't know. Like, I feel like if Cobb Vanth was in the next couple episodes, there'd be a little bit of a more reveal about Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Why? Like, why did he take it from Cobb Vanth in the first place?
Yeah.
So, plus, it'd be cool to have another gunslinger kind of guy.
Yeah, why not?
In your pocket, like, let's go. Let's go all out in the last two. Like, it's Baby Yoda. They need to go get him back. Throw in Mithril. Throw in like Mithril being like, you got to pilot us, and like he'd be like, I don't want to be here, but you know what? You have to be. And I have a feeling, Amy Sedaris' character is going to have another ship for him.
Yeah, it makes sense that because he's going to get another ship at some point. If not this season, maybe the following.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I found you another Razor Crest. Cool.
Good. You don't have to buy a new toy.
I don't have to buy a new toy. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's still a cool ship. I like the ship, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. Any Last thoughts we didn't go over?
It's gonna be I mean, not really, nothing on top of that. I do think we are going to end this season on a cliffhanger. I don't know if we're gonna get I don't know if they're gonna be able to get Grogu back this season. It might we
Like, are
might
we gonna
not
have to
get
wait
that.
a full year?
I think we'll have to wait a full year to find out what happens. Because it seems like they're ramping things up. Like the first season was kind of playing things safe, and now they're like, all right, we need to start getting a bit more risky with this one. It's
Yeah.
working out. But I'd be surprised if things get wrapped up this season, because I don't they might get close. Maybe they will get him, but there'll be some tragedies. There'll be a price to pay for getting him
Oh
back.
yeah, there's definitely gonna be a price to pay. I think
Yeah,
one of those people we just mentioned is not gonna make it.
yeah,
So
I'm sure.
we'll see. Um, so anyway, that is the episode. It's a very long one, but we had pretty much the
Yeah,
whole season to go over. So
yeah, pretty much.
thanks for sticking around with us. Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching if you're watching us on YouTube. Um, be sure to leave a review on iTunes if you're listening to us on iTunes. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We will be back for next week's episode and, of course, the season finale. Join us for the regular Castle Caves and Clones podcast, which should be released on Fridays also. And yeah, and we'll probably continue another one of these shows for WandaVision when it comes out in January.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be talking about Marvel stuff, some Star Wars
Yay.
stuff, which we also love. So thanks for watching. You can reach me at R2 Romasanta on Instagram and Twitter. You can email us at podcast@castlecapesandclones.com or visit our website, castlecapesandclones.com. Where can they find you?
On Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. That's all three of those are at 6orbs. That's spelled out SIXORBS. But a little disclaimer, my content is a little bit more on the mature side. Yeah, especially when it comes to my Twitch channel.
Yeah.
More adult language type stuff, but still nerdy stuff on there. I do plan on at some point having on Twitch anyway, having a long, possibly drunken Star Wars rant.
Yes,
At
I
some point.
may pop up as well.
Yeah.
So if you're used to my behavior here, it's not going to be the same.
It'll be different. It'll be all uncensored and all that.
Yeah.
But that'll happen. That'll happen once I'm caught up with Clone Wars and Rebels and everything else I've missed out on.
I still kind of think we should do some kind of watch along reaction thing with you and certain episodes. It don't have to be the full thing, but there's certain episodes where I'm like, let me know when you're on this. I want to talk about this, or I want to get this reaction from you.
That's fine. I can do that.
So there's that. And that's it. Thank you, everybody, and may the force be with you. This is the way.
So long.
Catch you on the flip side.